Here is one fact about every Stranger Things episode, starting from season 1 all the way to season 5. Starting with episode 1 of season 1, The Vanishing of Will Byers. Starting out, this one's straight from the heart, Dustin's comeback line. It's called Cleidocranial Dysplasia, wasn't just a quirky scripted moment. Actor Gaten Matarazzo genuinely has that rare genetic disorder in real life. The creators of the show, the Duffer Brothers, noticed Gaten's unique condition, he's even missing his collarbones due to it, which lets him do a freaky shoulders touching trick, and decided to weave it right into Dustin's character. So when you see Dustin standing up to those bullies with that line, you're watching Gaten draw from his real life. Talk about art imitating life, huh? The Weirdo on Maple Street, episode 2. If Dustin's scene came from Gaten's reality, Eleven's character was inspired by an 80s classic. The Duffer Brothers literally told Millie Bobby Brown to play Eleven like E.T., as if an alien were trapped in a little girl's body. Remember the scene where Mike shows Eleven his toys? That's a direct nod to E.T. as well, mirroring the moment Elliot introduces his extraterrestrial buddy to a Yoda figure. They basically wanted you to feel that Elle is an adorably confused alien learning about Earth. Maybe that's why she's as obsessed with Eggo waffles as E.T. was with Reese's Pieces. Holly Jolly, episode 3. You know those Christmas lights Joyce hangs up to talk to Will? Originally, those blinking lights were just supposed to be a practical monster hunting gadget in the script, nothing emotional about it. But in a last-minute burst of genius, or maybe holiday spirit, the writers rewrote the scene. So, the lights became a grief-stricken mom's lifeline to her missing son. Good thing they did, because it gave us one of the show's most iconic images. Joyce standing in front of that alphabet wall, watching the lights spell out messages from the upside down. It's equal parts spooky and heartwarming, and it all came from a late rewrite that turned a simple prop into an emotional gut punch. The Body, episode 4. Stranger Things isn't just great at tugging your heartstrings, it's got a twisted sense of humor behind the scenes too. Case in point, in episode 4, the Duffer Brothers pulled a morbid prank on Noah Schnapp's mom using an incredibly lifelike dummy of Will's corpse. The prop was so realistic that they hid dead Will in a closet and casually invited Noah's real mom to come take a look. You can guess what happened next. She opened the door, saw what looked like her own son's body, and let out a scream that probably echoed across Hawkins. Once the poor woman realized it was a joke, she even laughed and snapped a photo with the dummy as a souvenir. Because if your kid's fake corpse isn't in the family photo album, are you even a Stranger Things parent? The Flea and the Acrobat, episode 5. Those eerie synth vibes that give you goosebumps in Stranger Things. In episode 5, we learned they were created by two composers who had never scored a TV show before. In fact, one of them was literally selling off his old keyboards online to pay rent just before the Duffers hired them. Fast forward to now, and these underdogs, Kyle Dixon and Michael Stein from the band Survive, ended up defining the entire sound of the series. It's a serious upgrade for a couple of self-professed synth nerds, going from struggling musicians to the ones crafting the soundtrack of your nightmares and dreams in Hawkins. Not bad for a first gig, right? The Monster, episode 6. Stranger Things is full of surprises. Even the creators didn't see some coming. Take Steve Harrington. He was originally written as a one-note sleazeball who'd get killed off by the end of season 1, but by episode 6, the Duffers realized Joe Keery was making Steve way too likable to throw away. He played the character with so much heart that they rewrote Steve's fate on the fly, sparing him from the chopping block to fill the jerk void in season 2. They introduced Billy Hargrove as the new bully in town. Since Steve was no longer wearing the villain hat, Steve basically went from destined to die douchebag to our favorite bat-wielding babysitter, all because Joe Keery's charm and that fabulous hair won everyone over. Now that is a plot twist for the better. The Bathtub, episode 7. Ever wonder how they filmed Eleven's eerie black void scene in episode 7? Well, they didn't use CGI. They actually built a full-size tank and had 12-year-old Millie Bobby Brown submerged in it to create that endless dark space. She even had to wear a 70-pound vintage diving helmet so she could breathe underwater between takes. Imagine carrying a small person on your head at her age. Despite all that literal heavy lifting, Millie made it look effortless. She's floating in nothingness, totally calm, while the rest of us are at home holding our breath just watching her. Talk about dedication from a young actress. The Upside Down, episode 8. For the big season 1 finale, the show went old school with its monster. That terrifying Demogorgon you see on screen wasn't CGI at all. It was a real performer inside a 6-foot-tall animatronic suit. The suit had 26 built-in motors just to control its grotesque flower petal face, and it looked menacing as hell, but those whirring servos were so loud that the poor actor, Mark Sticer, couldn't even hear the director yell action. He basically had to rely on flashing lights and visual cues to know when to start rampaging, because when your costume sounds like a lawnmower on steroids, you just have to wing it and hope for the best. Now that's commitment to the role, even if it means literally not hearing a thing while you scare the life out of everyone on set. Season 1 gave us Demogorgons, psychic kids, and an alphabet wall we'll never forget. On to season 2, Mad Max, episode 1. Max's introduction to Hawkins comes with a funny little behind-the-scenes twist. Sadie Sink really wanted the role, so she told the Duffer brothers she was a skilled skateboarder. A tiny fib, since she wasn't. Hey, wouldn't you lie a bit to join Stranger Things? As soon as she got cast, the Duffers mailed her a skateboard and basically said, prove it. Cue Sadie wiping out hard on day one of practice. It was a classic fake it till you make it moment that left her bruised and laughing, but don't worry, she mastered the moves in time. Lying on your audition resume has never been so relatable, right? Trick or Treat Freak Episode 2. The famous Halloween Ghostbusters costumes almost didn't happen. The Duffers had to get personal approval from Dan Aykroyd and director Ivan Reitman to let the boys suit up as Ghostbusters. Even when you're Netflix's hottest show, you still gotta ask the OGs for permission. Thankfully, Aykroyd and Reitman gave a thumbs up. Apparently they were flattered, and even sent the Stranger Things crew some Ghostbusters toys as a thank you. The props team then went the extra mile. They custom built a working ghost trap for Dustin's costume because the real 80s toy version wouldn't pop open on its own. Talk about commitment to nostalgia, they ain't afraid of no ghosts or Ghostbusters lawyers either. The Pollywog, Episode 3. After the Halloween fun, Episode 3 brings us Dustin's new pet, Pollywog, Dart, and the crew had some sneaky fun with this little guy. The VFX team deliberately designed Dart to look ridiculously cute and frog-like, so both you and the characters would think he was harmless. Those adorable chirps and big goo-goo eyes hid the truth. Dart was a baby Demogorgon in disguise the whole time. By the time he sprouts legs and starts eating the family cat, it's too late. You've already fallen for him. This was a calculated bait and switch on the audience, and admit it, you were totally fooled. Don't worry, so were the kids. Will the Wise, Episode 4. Remember Will's sprawling crayon drawing that took over the Byers' house? The crew went all in to make that scene real. They plastered the living room set with more than 3,000 hand-drawn sheets of tunnel map art, floor, walls, ceiling, every inch covered in Will's creepy scribbles. It was like an upside-down art installation in Joyce's house. Noah Schnapp, Will's actor, even got in on the action. Between takes, he'd sneak in and add his own little doodles on some of the pages, so it really looked like Will drew them all himself. That's dedication. By the end of filming, Noah's arm was probably as tired as Will's, but the result was authentically chaotic masterpiece on screen. Dig Dug, Episode 5. Those dark, slimy tunnels in Dig Dug gave everyone the creeps, but here's the wild part. They were 100% practical sets. Instead of CGI, the crew built an 80,000 square foot network of winding tunnels on a soundstage, complete with oozing vines and gooey walls to mimic the Upside Down's underground lair. They even lined the insides with reflective chicken wire beneath the foam vines, so that when actors shined their flashlights, the light bounced around in weird ways, making the tunnels feel alive. Imagine being an actor crawling through that maze. One minute you're on a studio lot, the next you're literally chest deep in a horror movie underworld. Now that's immersive, minus the real monsters, thankfully. The Spy, Episode 6. Dr. Owens arrives in Episode 6 as the new head of Hawkins' lab, but the real insider's joke is who plays him. The Duffers actually wrote the part specifically for Paul Reiser. In early drafts, they even called the character Paul Reiser as a codename. Why? As an homage to Reiser's iconic role in Aliens as Carter Burke, the smarmy company man you love to hate. They figured the moment fans saw Paul Reiser on screen, you'd automatically wonder, uh-oh, can we trust this guy or is he another Burke? It's genius casting that toyed with our expectations. Basically, the Duffers were playing mind games with 80s movie nerds, and it worked because admit it, you had your eye on Dr. Owens from the get-go, waiting for him to betray everyone. Spoiler, he turned out to be okay. Phew. The Lost Sister, Episode 7. Episode 7, The Lost Sister, was a bold detour from the Hawkins storyline, and its creation was just as bold. Originally, Kaylee, 8, was written to be Eleven's brother, not sister. The Duffers initially imagined Elle finding a long-lost brother out in Chicago, but as they started casting, they opened the role to women too, and actress Linnea Berthelsen came in and just clicked with Millie Bobby Brown. They realized making Kaylee a sister figure gave Eleven a much deeper emotional connection, so they rewrote 8 as a badass big sister. Girl power for the win. And here's another twist. The whole standalone episode nearly got cut in editing because it felt so different from the rest of the season. The Duffers actually debated scrapping it late in the process. In the end, they kept it because Eleven's character arc needed that journey to fuel her finale. Heroics love it or hate it, Elle's little punk rock adventure turned out to be crucial. It was her Jedi training moment before coming back to save her friends. The Mind Flayer, Episode 8. You put Bob Newby in danger? We all shouted that at our TVs, and apparently the writers were shouting it in the room too. Bob, Sean Astin, was always meant to die in season 2, but here's the scoop. He was supposed to die much earlier. Around episode 4 or 5, they planned a quick exit for our lovable Radio Shack hero, but Sean Astin made Bob so endearing that the Duffers kept delaying his death episode by episode because no one on the team could bear to off him too soon. They literally fell in love with Bob just like we did. Eventually, by episode 8, they knew it was time. The story did need a tragic sacrifice after all. They gave Bob that heroic send-off in the Hawkins lab, hacking the systems, saving everyone, only to get taken down by demodogs, and it still absolutely shattered our hearts. Fun fact, Winona Ryder was so upset about Bob's death that she begged the Duffers to spare him. No such luck. When Stranger Things gives you a hero, they'll yank him away to make you feel it. The Gate, Episode 9. The season finale. The Gate delivers epic monster showdowns and a sweet dose of teen romance, including a totally unscripted moment that nobody saw coming. Remember Lucas and Max's cute kiss at the snowball? Surprise, that was never in the script. Ross Duffer had spent the day teasing 15-year-old Sadie Sink that she might have to kiss Caleb McLaughlin, Lucas, as a joke, which had Sadie all nervous and protesting. Can you blame her? Then, at the last minute, he decided to actually add it in for real. They rolled cameras, and that spur-of-the-moment smooch ended up being both Sadie and Caleb's first kiss ever, captured in front of the entire crew and a gym full of extras. Talk about pressure for a teen. If you thought your first kiss was nerve-wracking, try doing it with bright lights, multiple cameras, and a few hundred people watching. In the end, they pulled it off like total champs, and that adorable unscripted kiss became the cherry on top of Season 2's finale, leaving you grinning through the end credits. Season 2 buried us in vines and gave us a hero who loved Radio Shack. Time to hit the mall. Season 3. Susie, do you copy Episode 1? Karen Wheeler might look like a pro gliding across the pool in episode 1, but here's the truth. Actress Cara Buono could barely swim. When she learned her first scene required an effortless backstroke, she panicked. Her husband improvised a fix by slicing off a chunk of a foam pool float and hiding it inside her swimsuit for buoyancy. So when you see her drifting coolly across the water, it's not grace, it's good engineering. Just goes to show sometimes Hollywood magic is literally held together by pool noodles. The Mallrats, episode 2. That colorful shopping montage where Eleven and Max hit Starcourt Mall is iconic, but it almost included a timeline fail. The Duffers originally wanted them to pose at a Glamour Shots photo studio until someone on the crew realized the chain didn't actually exist yet in 1985. To stay authentic, they created a fake Photoshop instead, dressing it up with era-perfect neon signs and pastel walls. Even the storefronts around it were stocked with genuine 80s products scoured from antique stores. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but the crew's obsession with period accuracy is why Starcourt feels so real. Every shelf, mannequin, and mall tune is genuinely 1985. The Case of the Missing Lifeguard, Episode 3. When Heather, Francesca Reale, and Billy go full horror movie at the dinner table, everything from the bottle smash to the dragging was choreographed like a dance. Reale called it her favorite scene to shoot, mostly because it was absolute chaos behind the camera. They rehearsed the bottle hit for days using a sugar glass prop so she could shatter it over her on-screen father's head without injury. Between takes, Reale and actor Michael Park were cracking jokes while covered in fake blood and broken glass just to shake off the intensity. It's a perfect Stranger Things contrast, terrifying on-screen, oddly hilarious in real life. The Sauna Test, Episode 4. That blistering sauna showdown with Billy? Dacre Montgomery cranked it up himself. None of the creepy clapping, the guttural laughter, or the slow, inhuman foot dragging was in the script. Those were Dacre's improvisations. The moment he started doing it, the crew froze, because it felt so wrong they had to keep rolling. Director Sean Levy loved it so much he shot close-ups of Billy's feet scraping across the tile, which became one of the scene's most unsettling visuals. So if you felt your skin crawl, thank Dacre. He literally invented that nightmare mid-scene. The Flayed, Episode 5. The flesh monster's gooey movements were mapped out in the weirdest way possible. The VFX team acted it out. Before animating the creature, the artists took turns crawling around the studio floor, one guy even kneeling on a skateboard to mimic how the blob would slither and stretch. They filmed those goofy rehearsals as movement reference for the final CGI. It sounds silly, but that hands-on experimenting gave the monster its disturbingly lifelike motion. So, next time you're grossed out by the meld of people goo, just picture a grown man on a skateboard pretending to be a pile of flesh. You're welcome. E Pluribus Unum, Episode 6. Billy's tragic beach memory with his mother came straight from Dacre Montgomery's own request. He told the Duffers that Billy needed a real backstory. Villains don't just wake up evil. The brothers agreed, writing the beach flashback to humanize him and show the pain behind the rage. The scene was filmed with dreamy lighting and gentle surf to contrast Billy's violent world, and it worked. It's one of the few moments you truly feel for him. Sometimes the best storytelling happens when an actor fights for a piece of their character's soul. The Bite, Episode 7. Robin's coming out scene was a late organic addition thanks to Maya Hawke. The Duffers originally wrote her as Steve's next love interest, but as filming went on, Hawke felt it didn't fit. Robin and Steve had chemistry, sure, but more like best friends than lovers. She pitched the idea that Robin was gay, and the writers instantly agreed it made the character feel authentic. That quiet bathroom confession became one of the show's most heartfelt and progressive moments. It also flipped expectations perfectly. In a show full of monsters, the bravest thing ended up being a girl telling the truth about herself. The Battle of Starcourt, Episode 8. That unforgettable, never-ending story duet between Dustin and Susie, totally real. The The Duffers flew actress Gabriella Pizzolo to set so she and Gaten Matarazzo could sing the song live together. No lip syncing, no studio trickery. Both of them came from Broadway, so when cameras rolled, they harmonized effortlessly and had the entire crew clapping along by take 3. By the end of the day, the theme song was stuck in everyone's head, and probably yours too. It was pure 80s joy right in the middle of chaos, proving even the apocalypse can use a little karaoke break. Season 3 ended with fireworks, flesh monsters, and a never-ending duet. Season 4 opens courtside with a quiet tribute stitched into Lucas's jersey. The Hellfire Club, Episode 1. You probably didn't notice it the first time, but Lucas's jersey number 8 was no random pick. Caleb McLaughlin specifically asked to wear it as a tribute to Kobe Bryant, who wore number 8 during his early NBA years. If you've seen Caleb off screen, you know he's a real baller. He even played in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game. So this wasn't just wardrobe, it meant something to him. Next time you see Lucas hit the court, just know you're watching a quiet nod to a legend. Vecna's Curse, Episode 2. That scene at Rinkomania where 11 clocks Angela with a roller skate, that wasn't the original plan. In early drafts, the Duffers wrote it as a mini golf fight, no joke, where Elle smacked Angela in the face with a putter. Millie Bobby Brown even said she rehearsed that version until the Duffers changed it last minute to the neon lit skate scene. Let's be real, you felt that roller skate hit in your chest. Good call sticking with the wheels. The Monster and the Superhero, Episode 3. When Hopper's shivering barefoot in the Russian snow, you're not watching a soundstage. That was filmed at an actual prison in Lithuania in below freezing temps. And yes, David Harbour was literally barefoot. He joked it was the coldest set in history. And honestly, you'll believe him when you see his breath fog up. If you were cold watching it, imagine being the guy whose toes went numb to sell the scene. Dear Billy, Episode 4. If Victor Creel looked a little too familiar to you, there's a reason. That's Robert Englund under the makeup. Yep, Freddy Krueger himself, cast as a nod to the show's 80s horror roots. The Duffers were so hyped they showed up to set in Freddy's shirts just to work with him. And during his monologue, listen for that eerie fingernail scratch on the table. Total Elm Street callback you weren't supposed to miss. The Nina Project, Episode 5. The Think Young 11 was a CGI clone. Not even close. She was played by 8-year-old Marty Blair with Millie Bobby Brown's face digitally mapped onto her. Millie even mentored Marty on set to get all of Elle's movements and expressions just right. So the next time you're watching those flashbacks, just know you're looking at 2 actresses performing in sync. And the effect is freakishly smooth. The Dive, Episode 6. That eerie moment when Steve gets yanked underwater, it's not a stunt double. That's actually Joe Keery being pulled backward out of the lake with a harness, then played in reverse. They flipped the footage and positioned the upside down gate just above the waterline to make the transition seamless. Joe called it one of the coolest things he's ever done on set, and you've got to admit, it's one of the coolest shots in the whole season. The Massacre at Hawkins Lab, Episode 7. Becoming Vecna wasn't just makeup, it was hours of gluing, molding, and layering prosthetics onto Jamie Campbell Bower every single day. It took about 7 hours per session to fully transform him, and nearly all of what you see is practical. Only a few little tendril twitches were added in post. Sadie Sink said seeing him in costume on set was genuinely disturbing. If you were creeped out at home, just imagine having lunch next to that face. Papa, Episode 8. That helicopter crash wasn't just a CGI trick. The crew actually used a real helicopter for on-set lighting and scale, then blew up a practical fireball on the ground to match it. The rest, like the midair spin and wreckage, was CGI layered on top. But it looked so convincing you'd swear they dropped a chopper straight into the desert. The Piggyback, Episode 9. If you thought Eddie looked like he was really playing Master of Puppets, that's because he was, mostly. Joseph Quinn practiced non-stop after reading the script and even bought a new guitar the next day just to get the fingering perfect. By filming day, he could shred the entire rhythm section himself. They only brought in a pro for the wild solo. And the best part, some of that final guitar you hear was recorded by Metallica's bassist Son. Now that's metal. Season 4 left us on the edge. Season 5 is where everything changes. We just don't know how yet. The Crawl, Episode 1. You won't be easing into this one. Season 5 kicks off in the middle of the storm. The Duffers confirmed there's no reset this time, which means when you hit play, Hawkins is already at war. Cast members have compared the energy to Avengers Endgame, everything's in motion, and you're dropped right into the chaos. No recap, no breather, just straight back into the fire. The Vanishing of Episode 2. If you've been here since Season 1, this one's for you. Crews were spotted filming again at the original Byers' house, the same one from Will's first disappearance. Rumor is this episode mirrors that very moment, so don't be surprised if you get hit with deja vu. It's a full circle setup that's made to mess with your nostalgia. The Turnbow Trap, Episode 3. This title isn't made up. Turnbow is an actual back road out in Georgia where the crew transformed a forest into an upside-down nightmare. They'd built fog tunnels, blasted blue light everywhere, and shot deep into the night. Locals who lived nearby said it looked like a portal opened in the woods. So yeah, if you start Episode 3 and feel disoriented, you're meant to. Sorcerer, Episode 4. If you're a fan of Stranger Things' biggest emotional punches, this one's in good hands. It's directed by Sean Levy, the same guy behind Dear Billy, and early set reports point to flying rigs, wire work, and massive shadow effects. Sounds like Vecna's not done with the theatrics yet. And if there's one thing Levy knows how to do, it's hit you with the heart right before the horror. Shock Jock, Episode 5. Fred Armisen joins the cast this episode as a Hawkins radio DJ, and from what we've seen, things don't stay on air for long. The Duffers shot inside a fully reconstructed 80s broadcast booth, complete with real vintage gear and period-correct commercials. If this episode starts with smooth radio and ends in static and screaming, well, you've been warned. Escape from Camazotz, Episode 6. If the name Camazotz gives you chills, that's because it should. It's the Mayan bat god of death. For this one, the team built an entirely new Batcave set at EUE Screen Gems Studios. We're talking animatronic wings, 360-degree projections, the works. If Season 5 has a new upside-down HQ, this is probably it, and you're not going to want to go there without a flashlight. The Bridge, Episode 7. Drone footage already gave this one away. A massive snow-covered bridge set was built in Stone Mountain Park. Crews were wrapped up in winter coats filming at night, which likely means this is Hawkins' first true winter battle. The title might mean more than just a structure, and if you're looking for the moment when everything starts to connect, this could be it. The Right Side Up, Episode 8. The finale is rumored to be over 2.5 hours long, and yes, it's designed like a full-blown theatrical film. The Duffers are throwing everything at the screen: real explosions, digital monsters, emotional closure, the works. If you've stuck around since the bike rides and Eggo boxes, this is the episode built for you. Just maybe block off your evening. This one's not ending quickly, and that's every episode of Stranger Things. From Will's first vanishing to the final fight for Hawkins. Whether you grew up on D&D or just binged it for the nostalgia, this show defined a generation of TV. Drop your favorite Stranger Things moment in the comments, and if you learned something new, you know what to do. Time's up. Thanks for watching.